trust and I gave you everything that you need. But you only told me lies and you made me realize that, babe, you ain't no good for me. I can't be with you, you can't be true. And I know just what I got to do. Gonna hit the ground running, running, running just as fast as I can. Gonna hit the ground running, running, running just as fast as I can. Woo-hoo. Well, you're begging me to stay, but I'm going my own way, and the skies ain't looking cloudy or gray. I won't even roll the dice so that you can't play me twice, no babe. Who do you think I am? Well, I'm gonna take my own road, and I'm sorry, baby, you can't go. Gotta
Welcome to WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. It's your old pal Jake, and this is a 2 for Tuesday, starting at what I can tell you is our most normal starting time from here on out. 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time-ish. Yeah, we're going to be doing the normal show at 9 p.m. now, just letting everybody know, making sure that is out there. And, of course, it'll always be delayed by a couple of minutes, in part to give you all time to show up, but also because your old pal Jake will always forget something at the last minute. That's a wicked guarantee. Delighted to have you. Want to do a little bit of housekeeping. If anybody is interested in becoming a moderator, let me know at what you can do at WYCDnetwork.com. Our good friend, Wicked Foxy Dragon, delighted to have you, by the way, is the first ever moderator on the channel. I'd like to give more of you that ability. The reason being, the folks that show up regularly here are all a trustworthy lot, are all operating in good faith, and are the kind of folks that I would like to have help shape the channel. I want you to help grow this thing, and I want to give you as much control as I can while still being upfront about this old chunk of coal being an imperfect messenger. So by all means, if you're interested in having the power to, ban trolls or issue warnings, etc., just generally keep the chat in good faith, let me know at what you can do at WYCDnetwork.com. Had some people ask, why Wicked? That sounds a little bad, right? You don't want to be a wicked person. True. But your old pal Jake got started on the radio with presenting, and I just love it. I love it so much, the silly culture of it, and I hope that the internet restores some of that silliness. I love that, like, you'd be on WRIF, The Riff. Stuff like that is just so much fun to me. So I very much am aping that with the channel. So there is the answer to that question. Why is it WYCD Wicked? Branding. And because what you can do, as has been pointed out quite correctly, is a very commonly used phrase. So yeah, there's that. We have a ton on the show today, and it might help if I record some of it. What do you say? Yes, indeed. On the show today, we are looking at a clip, basically all viewer suggestions. We got a clip from Brother Bernie. We've got Ring of Fire, talking about how Elon Musk may have broken the law. We have got a video. Recent, actually, is a relatively new suggestion just came in with Katie Couric talking about the Tucker Carlson and Don Lemon firings. I got to tell you, I didn't really talk about the Don Lemon firing because I didn't understand it that well. I still don't understand it that well. And to that end, this is a longer discussion Couric had. This stream this time around is essentially going to be just a let's watch because I want to understand it more. Let me give you first my understanding of the Don Lemon firing, and then we'll go into this clip proper. And you know what? Before even that, let me have a gander here at the live chat. Oh man, the anti-corporatist says, "Yes, I'm aware that you think it sounds cool." At Wicked Foxy LMAO. Yeah. By the way, I recently had a viewer, I don't think a fan of your old pal Jake's politics, refer to me as noodle arms. And I'll tell you, very few things give me more energy than compliments. But teasing, and I can't tell you why this is. I'm sure it's a conversation for a therapist at a later date. But teasing, I can't get enough of. I might refer to myself as old noodle arms for some time. Because I just love it. Yeah, your old pal Jake is a big damn dork. Please never tune in hoping that the coolest guy on the internet will be here. Although I maintain the smoothest cat on the internet. The anti-corporatist says, "I feel like you're trying to gaslight us with the whole your old friend Jake." I like that because it sounds it's your old pal Jake. I like it because it sounds it comes off, in my opinion, sounding the most accurate to what my expertise is. Just a guy that's lived in this world who genuinely has honest, good intentions for you. And here's the trick of it. You don't have to be my pal. You can hate me. But I'm coming at this from a positive angle. So your old pal Jake, it's sincere. It's a little shady. It's meant to feel a little shady. I always have like a 5 o'clock shadow. You know, if you suspect that I smell like cheap cologne and whatever laundry detergent I use too much of, you're correct. But you need a shady friend for some things. You need somebody who's willing to help you move an oddly shaped rug from time to time, and that's me. Anti-corporatist says, "That Patrick cat?" Yeah, that Patrick Thibodeau cat. I like him. Anti-corporatist says, "It's good, Jake. I'm kidding." Oh, and whiskey, says Wicked Foxy Dragon. Yeah, that's accurate. Ooh. Leon Chevalier says, "I'd like to mod, but it's 2 a.m. where I am." Good Lord. Very impressed. You know what? I've talked to you, Leon Chevalier. Boom. Boom. You are now the wicked late night mod. Wait, early morning mod. Because for you, early morning will be like midday. So yes. If you happen to be on, you now have the ability to boot people. I trust you. You're a responsible human being. All right, let's jump into this, folks. I really, really badly want to get into the hot goss with Don Lemon and Tucker Carlson and all that. Let me tell you my understanding of the Don Lemon firing, and I would just love your input here because this is genuinely a more mysterious one. My understanding is, like is apparently very common in the national news industry, less so in my experience because it was sort of a we're all poor together situation. But apparently he was a bit of a diva, like a problematic diva. A lot of workplaces have divas, sure. The person that knows they're important and they take advantage of it unfairly. But in the national news industry, that tends to be a little more intense. At least that's my understanding as an outsider. Don Lemon, according to the gossip, and it truly is, to my knowledge, just gossip, was a bit of a diva, but he had an interaction on air where he quite rightly called out a right-wing nutjob who's running against Trump on air. And shortly after, and he kind of made a scene when he told his producers to quit bugging him in his earpiece. Now, this I actually can lend some expertise into. There should, like, if there is fault to be had there, it's the producers. I realize the producer is essentially in the boss position there. The talent is not. But there's sort of it's not a written rule, but it's a courtesy, certainly, in the industry. If somebody's live, don't bug them. Yes, the producer's supposed to jump in with do this, do that. Hey, we're going to this, yada, 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 yada. But if they've made the decision to do something and you can see that they're doing it, let them do it. Why? Because they are live on camera and you are not. I say this having produced. Not supposed to do that. Yes, you can desperately try to steer them, but once they've demonstrated, within reasonable satisfaction that they're going ahead, don't bug them. Because you're not going to make the segment better, you're not going to make it smoother, you're just going to screw things up. So I come down on Don Lemon's side in terms of the technical stuff there. In terms of the argument he's making, of course, you couldn't just let that guy say what he said. Guy was making an argument that black people secured their freedoms after they had access to the Second Amendment. It was just a nonsensical argument. That's my whole understanding, other than CNN has come under ownership of a right-winger, and we've talked about it for a while. They're making a play for the Fox News audience. We've known this. This is a known thing. Why did they fire Lemon? I honestly can't tell you what was the straw. If this was a definite thing before that interview, and the interview was the straw that broke the camel's back, I don't know. But here's Katie Couric, who does have experience on a national stage, who does have a much better understanding of the ins and outs of that industry. And we have a suggestion from a viewer to check it out. Yes, Laurent Saint-Laurent, there we go, sent this in. Thank you very much for this one, man. Let's have a gander. Let's see what she has to say. It's a long one. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but I want to get to the part where she's talking about Don Lemon. And, of course, I just want that tea on Tucker Carlson. We know why, we don't know why he got fired, but we can assume. We've seen right-wing demagogues get fired before. He was too expensive for the company to hold on to. Check it out.
Okay, we're back, everyone, and we're talking about all these crazy firings that are happening in the media world. Jeff Shell, the CEO of NBC Universal, was fired yesterday, and this morning we got the news out of the blue. Tucker Carlson was fired from Fox, ostensibly. They issued a pretty terse press release, so it's a real mystery what was happening behind the scenes.
Damn it, Couric. And she stole my interview format. Look at that. A relatively low-res, tiny box with a solid color around it. We can all agree, right? Katie Couric watches What You Can Do and stole my interview format. Damn it, Couric. Now I know you're out there listening. I want a little credit here.
Is our upcoming lawsuits? Do they have more material? And there is Brian. Hi, Brian.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
And constantly adjusting in the chair.
Good. Welcome to Instagram Live. Is this your first Instagram Live?
I believe it is.
Oh, wow. Well, welcome. Congratulations. And it's great to have you. And I was just telling our audience, Brian, that it has been a crazy, day and a half in media, because we have Jeff Shell, the NBC Universal CEO, getting fired yesterday, Tucker Carlson, and now Don Lemon. So where do we begin, Brian?
Is it?
You want to start with? Do you want to start with Tucker? I think
Yeah.
that's seems to be the most shocking, only because he was a cash cow for Fox.
We're all the same. We all want that tasty red meat first. Yeah, all right, fair enough. I'm curious about the Jeff Shell thing. Truth be told, I hadn't even heard about Shell getting fired. Have you guys been talking about that? I hadn't heard it.
He didn't seem to be the guiltiest party in terms of disseminating lies about the election. It was very clear that the way he felt privately was very different than many of the things that he said publicly. So what happened with Tucker Carlson? And it did seem to come out of the blue, Brian.
It really is kind of a surprise. This is their most popular primetime anchor. This guy generates between 3 and 4 million people a day for each of his programs. You know, there's a lot of speculation going around. Was there something? There are other court cases that Fox is about to grapple with. Smartmatic. There's one from a former Fox News producer who used to work for Tucker Carlson. Are there allegations in these suits that Fox is aware of that perhaps they know more than we do about what's going on? Or is it really just, they just are liable for a massive payment for defamation settlement with Dominion Voting? Are they looking to cut costs? The Tucker show, as popular as it is, has no mainstream advertising. National advertisers do not advertise in this program. They're afraid of being called out by activists and critics. They're afraid of being aligned with some of his, less savory comments and views.
Hey, real quick. And I'm going to go contrary to the majority report here. At least something I've heard them say before. If you ever get told that boycotting a company doesn't work, look at the Fox business model. The reason we don't have Glenn Beck as a personality is he was losing the company money, because back when Glenn Beck was on air, their business model relied on advertisers, and people boycotted the advertisers. Listen to what he's saying about Tucker Carlson. Major advertisers don't go on that show because the people made it clear that that's a problem. So what's the Fox business model? Carriage fees. Related note, we got a little what you can do about that. Tell your cable provider you will not, and you got to mean this, you will not maintain your cable service if they pay a carriage fee for Fox. Starve this beast. And Leon Chevalier, yeah, I saw the statements about Don Lemon. Leon Chevalier says it was what's that guy's last name? Vivek. You spelled it out nicely for me. Ramaswamy. Last Wednesday, it was the interview he did with that guy. Yeah, but I don't think that was I don't think that incident in and of itself is why he got fired. I think that was the excuse used. Let's listen to what the gossip is, though. I'm just going to let him go for a while. This is too long for me to interrupt very much, so it's going to be them talking for a minute here.
So that show has not been easy to sell to advertisers for several years now.
Well, they've got a lot of My Pillow commercials on there, Brian. Sometimes I watch Fox because I want to see how various media outlets are framing important issues. Yeah. And you're right, the advertising seemed pretty sparse, but someone we know who knows Fox pretty well believes that, and I didn't see this, I was not watching Tucker Carlson's show the night immediately after the Dominion settlement, but they thought that he doubled down on this idea of a stolen election, and Rupert Murdoch had just had it. What are you hearing from inside Fox in terms of how Rupert Murdoch was feeling about the settlement and perhaps about some of his anchors?
Well, there's a lot of speculation. This is a massive payment. It is. Someone was giving me some figures. It could fuel reality series for half a year or more. It could fuel movie production. It's a massive amount. It is the biggest amount believed paid in defamation suit or settlement in history. And so, it's about almost a quarter of what Fox has on cash in his corporate bank. So it's no small amount. And I suspect the Murdochs are, Murdochs want to make money. They're not, that's first and foremost. And
Okay, so nothing all that interesting. What does he say? The other thing?
their track record.
Nope. We get it. Let's move on. I mean, we heard the Tucker thing. We know. Thoughts on Tucker, just summing that chunk of this up. Most likely, we're going to find out that his behavior was worse behind the scenes than we even thought it was, and he's a liability for the company. That's most likely what it is. But, I mean, there's nothing, in my opinion, there's not much to be gained here because it's not, on its face, no different than the O'Reilly firing, than the Glenn Beck firing, than whoever the hell it was before that. Let's hear about Don Lemon.
In the works, I'm a year and a half away from here. And, I think the Murdochs are kind of like,
Murdochs
was not ousted, but they couldn't come to a contract last week. So you start to see things are happening over there where some of their harder right personalities may be, exiting.
Well, it's interesting. Brian Stelter, who voraciously covered Fox during his time at CNN, quotes Newsmax CEO Chris Ruddy as saying, for a while, Fox News has been moving to become establishment media, and Tucker Carlson's removal is a big milestone.
Well, I jumped over the most interesting thing. Let's listen to that again. Fox going back to being establishment media? Let's listen.
Zero interest in settling. So, as you said, who knows what more material might be found during discovery.
Right.
And if they, I guess it could mean a drip, drip, drip for Fox News. But how do you think this really affects the Smartmatic lawsuit, if at all?
Well, Smartmatic now, they have a roadmap. They know what documents are out there. The lawyer has come out recently saying we're not looking to settle. We're looking to move forward. Thanks a million for getting things started. We're going to finish it up. And that could be courtroom talk. That could be bouncing back and forth.
Yeah, that's nonsense. They will absolutely, if they're offered 700, 800 million, they will absolutely settle. Don't get your hopes up.
In their own effort to get a hefty settlement. By the way, they've asked for twice as much as Dominion has asked for, $2.7 billion rather than 1.6. No small change, and that would, you figure Fox will make some more money over the next year and a half to offset that, but still not money you want to be giving out at this time when people are figuring out how to stream, how to get ad money. This is not a time to be losing money and deplete your cash reserves.
But do you think that Fox thinks that Smartmatic may look more favorably on what they did because people are being held accountable?
It's a theory. I don't know. Is that true? I don't know. I mean, the damage is already done. These are about things that happened in the past, not what's going to happen in the future. So, I mean, they got rid of Lou Dobbs immediately, and that did nothing to stem the tide. So I have to think that, whatever this is about, Dan Bongino, a hard right weekend host for Fox, who's a big hero in this conservative circles, was not ousted, but they couldn't come to a contract last week. So you start to see things are happening over there where some of their harder right personalities may be, exiting.
Well, it's interesting. Brian Stelter, who voraciously covered Fox during his time at CNN, quotes Newsmax CEO Chris Ruddy as saying, for a while, Fox News has been moving to become establishment media, and Tucker Carlson's removal is a big milestone in that effort. Millions of viewers who like the old Fox News have made the switch to Newsmax, and Tucker's departure will only fuel that. I'm not quite sure that's exactly true.
Yeah.
I don't think Newsmax is killing it in terms of ratings.
And think about how that works. Fox isn't establishment enough for you, so you go to Newsmax? What? How is Newsmax a saner voice? It doesn't make any sense to me.
But they're clearly trying to position themselves as the far right choice, the far right option between Fox News and Newsmax. And so do you think this is going to help Newsmax? And do you think Tucker Carlson could end up there?
I think Tucker has enough money to last for a generation with him and his family. I don't think he needs to work ever again. Is my guess.
But he wants a platform. He wants a voice. Come on.
He can start his own podcast and with digital site and get subscriptions and say whatever he likes. Going forward, he had the Daily Caller for a while as his own outlet. He can do that again very quickly. He can
Is it possible these people are too high up the corporate chain to understand reality? I mean, yeah, he can do that, and you know what? It's unlikely. Before I heckle them too much, it's unlikely that another network is going to pick up Tucker Carlson, because Carlson has become the face of misinformation. So if you want to real quickly discredit everybody on your network, have them say Tucker Carlson's their coworker. But the point of being on cable news is not for the number of viewers you have. As Midas Touch pointed out, they had more people viewing their live stream than the Fox live stream. There are people on YouTube who do silly videos of just destroying household objects. They get more views than whatever the TV equivalent is. The reason that you want to be on TV is because it establishes your credibility. And I just don't see, unless Tucker's desperate for money, I just don't see him, why would he be? I don't see him going a non-establishment route. He might just switch which establishment he's going to be under. It might be just the GOP establishment. Since that didn't go into an interesting spot, let's jump on. I want to hear the Don Lemon stuff, and I think they're going to be more insightful about that because that's a little bit closer to their world.
People, the younger generation of viewers, of anchors, I should say, to keep their viewers, keep coming back.
I have to give you some sort of like developing information as we're talking.
Ooh.
Steve Battaglio, who we both know from the LA Times, writes, the decision to fire Tucker Carlson came straight from Fox chairman Rupert Murdoch, according to people familiar with the situation who were not authorized to comment. That is the theory from our friend who used to work at Fox News.
We literally talked about that article yesterday. Couric, you're a day behind WYCD. Well, the clip when I saw it was.
Show, or when the anchor puts out a statement ahead of the network. These are not in sync. These are bad breakups on both sides.
Speculation Tucker Carlson would run for president. Do you think that would ever happen?
Show.
Moving on.
Or when
Don't
the
care.
anchor puts out
about Joe Biden's age. In response, Don.
Here we go. Here's the good stuff. Give me that. Let's have a good old-fashioned lemon party.
And so you've been pretty deep in the weeds at all these organizations. And so Brian and I have been talking about Tucker Carlson, who was fired even though Tucker claimed they parted ways. It's pretty clear that he got, in modern day parlance, shit-canned, right, Brian, from Fox News. And now we're talking about Don Lemon and the same fate. He was met with the same fate this morning. There was some tension on the set where he ostensibly and reportedly yelled and lost his temper at Caitlin Collins, and there was all sorts of stuff happening behind the scenes. And then when Nikki Haley announced she was running for president, she made sort of a snide comment about Joe Biden's age. In response, Don, in a really clueless, tone-deaf way.
Real quick note for the fella on the right there, more headroom. We need more space above your head, for God's sake.
Talked about how women are not in their prime, or in their prime in their 20s and 30s, and
Jesus.
maybe not even in their 40s, and you should Google it. And it was just really putting his foot in his mouth in a major way, Brian. So he got tremendous pushback from that. I had Lisa LaFlamme, the Canadian broadcaster, who was sort of unceremoniously fired, and a lot of people thought it was age discrimination. She said to me on our podcast, I was gobsmacked at the idiocy of that comment. There was a sanctimonious quality to the Google it part that I just was stunned at. And I'm exhausted by the head against the brick wall nature of a comment like that. Obviously, he wouldn't have said it if he didn't feel there was some kind of acceptability in society to make a comment like that, and that's a sad statement. she went on to say some more about that. And I asked her about her comment, Brian, that he was fired, and she said, my reaction, I guess he's past his prime. So there are a lot of people who are reacting that way. So is that, do you think, what
Well done.
prompted his firing, or was it continuing no chemistry between him and his co-anchors? You said something interesting to me about what was reported in the New York Post last week. Can you share that with our audience?
Yes. Are you hearing me again?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Yeah, it's our understanding the White House press secretary balked on a CNN morning interview because of Don Lemon. I've talked to people. I have confirmed that is accurate, that they could not book her last week because she was wary of appearing next to Don. I think she's in the past even weighed in on this conference from the White House podium. But this comment Don made has continued to haunt him, and it's my understanding they're having problems booking people on the show, and that ad sales at Warner, the parent company, has been complaining they can't sell the show. The chemistry is one thing; it has continued to be an issue. It's hard to come back from something like that. But the comment he made, meant the top audience of these morning programs are women between 25 and 54. That is the demo that advertisers want for every morning program. So once you kind of make a statement talking about that, you can lose your audience. It's clear that CNN probably needs to go back to the drawing board.
Wait a minute. Should I have a morning show? I do want to get more women involved in politics. I'm going to put a pin in that one. Good Lord. Well, women are plenty involved in politics, but I do want to get more women involved in online talking about politics. In part so I can get corrected when I say a dumb thing. But also, just to have the variety. Very interesting to me that the rumor mill, and to be clear, that's all we're hearing. The rumor mill is focusing more on his comments about Nikki Haley. I guess that makes sense. What I was really concerned with was hearing these cats say that it was about him sounding anti-gun. I was really nervous about that. But no, they seem to be focused on the Haley thing as what was a bigger deal behind the scenes. And that makes sense. If you're making a business decision, that makes sense. That's a hell of a lot of folks to turn off your show by saying one random, cruel, childish comment about a candidate. And also, if you're thinking that way, if that's the gag that comes to your head about Nikki Haley when she says other folks are past their prime, if you've not heard the comment, you might think, well, it was a fair enough point. He was saying she was middle-aged too. We're all middle-aged. What does she care if they're past their prime? But she's, first of all, several decades younger than the people she was talking about. And second of all, he specifically said women are past their prime at a different time than men are. Oh, it was painful. So just, to me, it just sounds like a problematic employee. I do wish they had picked a different inciting event, though, than the one he did. Because in that interview, where he calls out the right-winger, it was one of the few moments where I was truly, genuinely proud of Don Lemon. He's had his moments. They're just few and far between.
This morning program, if you look at what's happened since Chris came on as CEO, been a lot of spaghetti thrown at the wall. Chris Wallace here, a Sunday evening documentary show there, a new daytime format here. They're trying a lot of different stuff in their efforts to kind of bring CNN back post 2020 when they had their all-time high ratings. So yeah, I think Don Lemon's comment has not died down, and it continues to haunt the show. And when bookings and ad sales become a question, there's a business imperative to change the show very quickly.
Brian, he's referenced larger issues at work. What do you think he was hinting at there?
Well, I think Don and Caitlin have had trouble. Caitlin and Don had the same agent. Caitlin recently jumped to another agency because She felt she wasn't being represented properly.
Oh, there's good
I
stuff.
think, Variety reported recently, Don's had some issues with comments about women over the course of his career. I think it's all kind of just coalescing and building, and it's becoming tough for CNN to navigate that image he has with morning viewers.
Hey, you had something juicy though. Both according Brian Stelter, the aforementioned Brian
Wait a minute,
Stelter
juicy?
said, there we go, I got rid of that question, said that Don
Never mind. We're going to keep listening to this. I want to hear the juicy bit.
Lemon and Tucker Carlson have retained the famously aggressive entertainment lawyer Brian Friedman.
That's interesting.
Tell us about Brian Friedman and why both of these guys went to hire him.
Brian Friedman is a bulldog attorney who has helped represent many different people in similar straits. He represented Megyn Kelly against NBC News when she was ousted a few years ago.
Didn't she make all the money from
She
her
did.
contract, like $69 million?
That is correct. I believe he also
Dear
represented Chris
God.
Cuomo recently against CNN when Chris Cuomo was ousted from CNN. Entertainment companies aren't always the savviest with contracts. There are ways that, I think they have these morals clauses are kind of, iffy and shaky and not always nailed down. Brian Friedman's pretty good at finding the loopholes and holding them to account for money that he believes his clients are due.
And to illustrate what a twisted web.
One of these days. Yeah, that was the good stuff. Speaking of those contracts, finally I can actually chime in. Yeah, they not only are they generally poorly written, and let me just spoil my future chances of getting back in this industry. If you find yourself working in the local news industry and you are under a non-compete clause, which you think is ridiculous, you probably don't have to follow it. A lot of times, written into the contract, particularly for local news folks, are stipulations which more or less make you an indentured servant to your news station for the period of the contract, if you were to follow it the way or it was written. And it is very frequently not enforceable. And you merely have to say you've obtained the services of a lawyer if they want to dispute it, in order for them to say, you know what? I understand. You want to leave? Tell you what, we're not gonna enforce the contract. We'll tear it up. It's fine. You can go. Best of luck in the future. Handshake. It does not surprise me to hear that this remains true all the way up to the top. Disappoints me a little bit, but it doesn't surprise me. The shakeups at these companies, it sounds like to me, are not just the behavior of the employees there. It's the changing of the times. 15 years ago, that comment from Lemon wouldn't have even been, it wouldn't have been news, really. It's for the best that our standards are being raised again. I hope they keep getting raised. And, once you're on the national news, you're a rich person. If you're in front of a camera and millions of people are watching you on cable, you're a rich person. And even if I liked what they were saying, I don't mourn the loss of a rich person from a platform, because it means they will be replaced by someone who was poor, or at least not rich, more recently. I would love to see a network that requires its talent, that's the people that go in front of the camera, requires them to hang out casually with non-rich people in some capacity. I have no idea how this could be mandated. It's an unrealistic thing to demand. I don't advocate that others also demand for it because, again, I don't have a plan for it. But I'd like to see that so that the perspective we get is not rich people employed by other rich people talking about what the ultra-rich are doing to regular folks. Because it's like people who live in Never Never Land trying to talk about the details of Saving Private Ryan. Like, we're just in two very different worlds. So goodbye to Don Lemon. I'm sure he'll be fine. Goodbye to Tucker Carlson, and good riddance. What can you do? Keep having standards. If you want to really hurt Fox, you want to twist that knife, good. Good. Tell Fox, tell your cable provider to drop the Fox carriage fee. Rupert Murdoch is an enemy of decency. He has been his whole life. Try to take away his money. That's what I recommend. For the rest of this, it's fine. No one of significance was lost. The people who are on air that I care about right now are Mehdi Hassan, Joy Reid. You know what? Who's that Chris fella? He looks like he's 12. Why can't I remember him? Anyway, those folks. Maddow as well. There are good voices. I'm not too concerned about them because they tend not to get into this kind of trouble. Let's see what the wicked audience has to say about this. Chris Hayes, yes, thank you. Rustbox and Zix helping me out very much so with that. Oh, and Wicked Foxy Dragon Hayes, yes, that's the guy. Yeah, I like Chris Hayes. He's a good one. The anti-corporatist says, yeah, non-competes got invalidated by the Labor Board, Jake. Yes, indeed. And yet, you'll find that basically all TV news personalities, at least at the local level, at least in the Midwest where I've been wolfing around, they're under non-competes, even if they're not enforceable. And most of the employees are of the firm belief that they are enforceable. So it's really sad. Let me get the message out there. Hey, local news folks, your contracts are probably not, the horror show part of them are probably not enforceable. And if you're really miserable at the station you're at, if, for example, you're living off ramen noodles and borrowing parts to fix your car, that's a true story from the industry, and you want to leave the station where you are, just leave. Just leave. Make them come after you. If you're concerned that they're going to cut your last paycheck, what you should do is tell them you're quitting the very day that that you're paid. And if they say they're not going to break the contract, just leave. That very moment. Let them try to come after you in court. Leon Chevalier says, it's crazy watching American cable news on this side of the pond. Yeah, it's crazy on this side as well. A lot of us are just now becoming aware of how much it is propaganda, and it's a horror show, for sure. Ooh, Mars Falcon getting a lot of praise. I want to see it. Mars Falcon, both sides. They say they say poison drinking water is bad, but that is too partisan now, as no Republican agrees. You're fired. Yeah. Rustbox saying Jake looking dapper tonight. I'm trying. Thank you very much. Oh, look at that. Anti-corporatist getting in there early. I mean, besides Mehdi and Chris. Yes, sir. Oh, dawned on me late again, but man, if you haven't seen Ari Melber today, I'm telling you, you don't want to miss it. Brand new tapes and Ted Cruz's involvement in Jan 6th. Baby. Late breaking. We're doing it. That simple. Mehdi Hassan. Ted Cruz. Jan 6th. Let's have a look. Well, we got something from 10 months ago. Here Ted Cruz. Whoa. I see Ari Melber here. Tell you what, I see the Ari Melber crip. It's not the 90s in a movie set. I see the Ari Melber clip. And okay. Dawned on me. Gotcha. We're gonna do that. This is too interesting. I have not seen this. I have not prepared a what you can do. But I'll tell you right now, without having seen it, pretty sure I know what the what you can do is gonna be. Can advocate for this guy to be arrested. In short. Because coup plotters really need to be in prison. We were talking about this earlier in the previous stream on this 2 for Tuesday. Part of the problem is that in the United States currently, but hey, Leon Chevalier, other folks from around the world, this is a problem with right-wingers around the world. Much of what they are demanding comes from the fact that they are basing their reality off of whether or not they see consequences. In other words, and forgive the visuals here for a moment. In other words, if they see right-wingers that they support saying that left-wingers do all kinds of crazy things, and they see left-wingers talking about, here we go, left-wingers talking about all the crazy things the right wing actually is doing, but they don't see arrests made on either side, they're going to do what they've always done, which is just assume both sides lie, which allows the right wing to get away with actual crimes. So the answer is the left wing has to get on the DOJ and insist that they go after criminals. Let's record this properly. Got a viewer suggestion here. It is Ari Melber. This is from Dawned on Me. Thank you very much, Dawned on Me. Ari Melber talking about Ted Cruz's apparent involvement in January 6th. Now, we knew already that this guy was knee-deep in it. But it may turn out, in fact, that he is neck-deep in it, and it sounds like he's been caught in a recording talking about the coup and how he would help betray America. We should be concerned about this, folks, and we need to insist that this gets handled. But let's listen to the details.
New, previously secret recordings of Senator Ted Cruz discussing an explicit strategy to overthrow the election in advance of January 6th. So there's some stuff that's familiar here because we all lived through January 6th. What I have for you tonight is new. It's secret until tonight. It's exclusive. And it goes to the advanced plotting, specifically 4 days prior. So, airing for the first time tonight are tapes I'm about to play for you. They come on the heels of something that might be familiar. Other Ted Cruz recordings that we recently reported, which showed how he himself doubted that there was hard evidence that would win in court of Trump challenging the election. And no, Trump did lose all those court challenges. So when Cruz was saying that, it turned out that what he saw as weak evidence was weak evidence. Trump lost those cases. Cruz knew it.
I'm very excited. We're going to listen to this thing all straight through. But just to be clear, remember, I'm having flashbacks to like 2 years ago with Trump. If you and I are hearing about this stuff, imagine what the DOJ has found or will find. We truly, genuinely, really sincerely, I promise you, require that these people be in a prison cell. Let's listen to the plans this guy was making to overthrow democracy in the United States of America.
But by January, Mr. Cruz, Senator Cruz, was not only bending to Donald Trump's plan to vote against certifying the Biden win on the 6th. Senator Cruz was actively out plotting and selling a plan in advance, as these secret tapes tonight show. Cruz was talking to one of Trump's greatest backers in overthrowing the election, Fox host Maria Bartiromo. And if you're thinking, oh, does this all relate to everything we've been living through and the recent accountability? It does. We'll get to that. But what I'm going to play you first is how he was effectively privately briefing her on what he called a mechanism to force an overthrow or disruption of Biden's win by denying the certification. So when you listen to this tape right now, remember, at this time, 4 days out from the 6th, few people knew the lengths Donald Trump's allies planned to go on January 6th, as Cruz was planning out a key part of the plot.
I think that the country deserves to have a credible assessment of these claims and what the evidence shows. And the mechanism to try to force that is denying certification on the 6th.
Forcing this reassessment, as he so dryly put it, of Biden's actual win was for Cruz one step in a larger coup plot. And that's what the next tape I'm going to play for you shows. After the violence on January 6th, there was, of course, the ongoing process of trying to overthrow the election. Cruz, early in that day, technically right before the Capitol was breached, was one of 11 senators voting to deny the certification. I should mention the majority of Republican senators didn't go that far. But that's just one thing. Then there's step two, which you can hear yourself tonight. Again, we have evidence tonight. We're going to play it for you, and you can decide what you think of it. But in this newly exposed tape, Senator Cruz proclaims that the coup plotters would jump from denying the certification, which I showed you they tried to do, to step two, which they didn't reach, but here it is on tape. They would just seize power, he says, and overthrow the whole election. He literally explains it that way. Basically, that they would hijack the certification and then use their own made-up fake commission to declare that the Biden win was fraudulent, and then that would decide who was inaugurated. Quote, who was inaugurated. Now, it is rare to hear the endgame of the January 6 plotters confessed so plainly. Indeed, we heard one Trump official, Peter Navarro, talk about an aspect of this, a congressional sweep part, in public. We heard it on this program. It made news. It was a kind of a partial admission or confession.
Literally too many talking heads on screen. I'm not going to go long. I want to make it clear. That interview that he's referring to right now, I'm surprised Peter Navarro wasn't arrested the next day. All these people who are out there still pushing misinformation, who appear to have plotted, why are they not awaiting their trial from a cell? They're still a danger. The reason you would hold somebody without bail is if they're still a danger. These people are. It's not really all that complicated. Remove from the equation what their job is, because that's not supposed to matter. Is the person still committing the crime? We're deciding whether or not it was a crime leading up to trial. Are they still endangering people? We've had politicians shot at over this stuff. Every day they breathe fresh air is an insult to law-abiding citizens. It is that simple.
Now, this tape is Cruz talking in secret. Remember, this is where he doesn't think it's going to get out. He's just talking to someone who he sees as an ally in this cause, Maria Bartiromo, in advance, about overthrowing the race with this fake commission and using the claims of fraud, which, remember, on tape, Ted Cruz said were not standing up in court.
Who's deciding who gets inaugurated?
It would be the results of that commission and what they find. And if they found credible evidence of fraud that undermines confidence in the electoral results in any given state, they would report on that.
He admits it. You heard the question there. So who decides who gets inaugurated? That's what this is all about, because you have a certified winner. You have all of the courts having passed up any potential challenge to that. So at that point, it was President-elect Biden. And Cruz answers that this fake, made-up so-called commission that he and his Trump buddies were planning to try to create to bureaucratize a coup. That's what they were trying to do. That was his answer. That's how they would steal the race.
That is such a good way to put it. And that really is the Republican playbook for this stuff. That really Trump wrote. Make it seem formal. That's all. Talk about the crimes in front of a podium to make it seem like they're not crimes. And it worked. Americans are that, we are collectively either that gullible, some of us, that passive, most of us, until recently, or simply that tired. We've heard the ramping up to this for years and years and years. And if you're from outside of America, remember that the stuff you hear about that horrifies you actually horrifies most of us too. And if you're sick to death of hearing about America, so are we. The good news that I really want to underline is this. It's getting reported on. And even though it doesn't feel earth-shattering anymore, we've had the first ever indictment of a president. That was a question that was up in the air until this year. We are making the necessary progress. And by the way, these are changes we are not going back from. The generation of people who are alive now on this planet will not forget these lessons learned. Let's let this report keep going. It's too damn interesting. But yeah, that's Ted Cruz just straight up admitting the crime. He's on record. This is his Georgia phone call. He is going to prison for that, or I'm going to prison for chaining myself to wherever he is located until he's arrested.
And all the references to fraud and such, well, we know, A, he didn't believe in those. We already have that on tape. B, we know more importantly, the judges and the fact-finding we have in this country didn't find that there was that kind of fraud. And then 3, that's all just talk anyway, because they're literally trying to steal it for Trump. So all the words in the middle are just the words to get there. Now, I want to be clear about this, because we try to really go through and take stuff seriously with you. You can feel it in America right now. Some of this stuff is catching up with people.
Boom.
Now, there are also those who would look at, say, this tape with this plan and say, Ari, this sounds pretty far-fetched. I mean, this sounds unlikely to get anywhere. they might want to dismiss it. They might say to me, hey, Ari, this wasn't going to really happen. And we know it actually didn't happen. We didn't see a fake commission popped up to do this. But let me tell you this tonight. Underestimating authoritarian plans hatched at the highest levels of your government would be a mistake. This was hidden for a reason. They don't want you to know about it. They don't want you to take it seriously now. That is the democracy part. Then there's something else I want to share with you before we bring in our experts. And boy, do we have some good ones on hand for this exclusive here on The Beat tonight. But these cruise tapes, they also reinforce something else, how this Republican who staked his campaign on stopping Donald Trump not only turned into a Trump endorser, which is typical in party politics, you know about primaries, and people often come back together. But no, the Cruz tapes show Senator Cruz turned into someone trying to overthrow an election that Donald Trump lost. And just as we know Cruz didn't believe there was actual election fraud in 2020 because he privately said so on tape, we also know how thoroughly he saw Trump's flaws because he publicly said so on tape.
What Donald does when he loses is he blames everybody else. It's never Donald's fault. Look, we need a commander-in-chief, not a Twitterer-in-chief. Donald, you're a sniveling coward. This man is a pathological liar. The man cannot tell the truth, but he combines it with being a narcissist. The man is utterly amoral. His reaction to everything is to throw a fit.
Cruz's stated concerns there about Trump were borne out in office.
Yeah.
Lying about elections. And while many forget this, even in the 2016 general election, it was Cruz who actually withheld direct support for Trump. Instead, he used that major convention platform to break with most Republicans who were telling their supporters to vote Trump. Instead, remember what Cruz said at the time. He didn't say vote Trump. Instead, to some boos, he said vote your conscience.
Stand and speak and vote your conscience. Vote for candidates up and down the ticket who you trust to defend our freedom and to be faithful to the Constitution.
The sounds you hear are Republicans on the floor who pretty swiftly, within a couple seconds, gathered that this wasn't ending with a vote Trump like most speeches. That's really how all conventions in both parties work. It ended with vote your conscience, which is not traditionally understood as like a long, fancy word for Trump. Cruz went from warning of all those dangers of Trump while trying to defeat him to then, once Trump was actually defeated in 2020, trying to literally help him steal the election. Overthrowing the loss, as I mentioned, with hardliners like Hawley, trying to abuse the certification and set up now, we learned tonight, this kind of fake commission. And this dissent also tells us a larger and more dangerous story tonight, because Ted Cruz isn't just some senator, even if you've heard of him or his criticisms or you think he's like the other senators or...
I'm going to be a little more merciful to Ari. There we go. Hey, let me know if you... we got 4 minutes in the clip remaining. Let me know if you want to hear what the guests have to say. I'm going to let them do the intro. I'll look in the Wicked community comments here. Let me know if you're interested in the guests as well. I was mostly interested in that recording, but that's a lot to take in. That's... It is what it promised to be. I mean, it's the confession of a crime. He tried to make it seem like it's just a intricate government trick, but it's not. That's a coup. It's pretty plain. He's on the record in various places with his understanding that there was no court case to be had, hence there was no legal remedy to be had. It's a coup. Let me know if you want to hear the upcoming interview.
Because
for the guests, I should say.
Ted Cruz isn't just some senator, even if you've heard of him or his criticisms or you think he's like the other senators or there's been Republicans who've criticized him and he's very controversial. There's something else politically important about Ted Cruz. I'll do all the facts with you. We do the law, we do the tapes, but we'll also do the political realities. And that is that Ted Cruz was the runner-up in 2016. Remember all those candidates Trump beat and over a dozen? He came in second. He had this kind of...
That's a yes on the interview. Kick ass. I'm glad. Let's check it out. I'm never kind to Ari with the pause. I apologize.
Position of his plurality, and he could build on that. He could try to run again on his own platform. He had once warned not only about Trump, but about Trumpism, this danger to the nation, this idea that if you go down that path, you end up with a type of policy, politics, and leadership that, as he put it, is not how a commander-in-chief should ever act. But Ted Cruz concluded that, apparently, for him, politically, making common cause with these would-be authoritarians, with those wanting to steal the election, steal your vote, overthrow American democracy for the first time, that was what he needed to do, both being seen as a Jan 6 planner, which was the public part, the certification part, but also, as we see in these tapes, using his power, his mind, his knowledge of the system to try to quite literally overthrow the person the voters picked to be inaugurated. That was his quite literal mission. This should not be underestimated or minimized, and certainly not brushed into the history and swept under the rug if we haven't even collected the full facts of this history. And that's why what we on the beat are calling these Cruz tapes are actually so damning. Keep all of that in mind, including the he knew better history of 2016, when you hear him caught on tape now, airing on TV tonight, pushing this plot.
Who's deciding who gets inaugurated?
It would be the results of that commission and what they find. And if they found credible evidence of fraud that undermines confidence in the electoral result in any given state, they would report on that.
Credible evidence of fraud. That, again, as Ari said a bunch of times, it needs to be repeated. Cruz did not see. Cruz said there was no credible evidence. Cruz said that a court would not find that there was credible evidence.
Ted Cruz and his Trump buddies' commission that they make up will decide who's inaugurated. And that shows something else that might be bad for Ted Cruz, because the Cruz tapes show that Senator Cruz broke the first rule of Coup Club, which is you don't talk about Coup Club, because this is still America. And I can tell you, and we have recent evidence of this, there are more of us for democracy in America than there are of them. So if you start talking openly about Coup Club,
hell yes,
that ain't a left-right thing, thank goodness. You are going to be in that authoritarian minority where you probably belong. This is America. We don't have politicians stealing elections from voters.
Hell yeah,
we don't allow authoritarian, defamatory propaganda without consequences, as Fox and Mr. Carlson have been learning. Now, that network and Senator Cruz's office declined our request here on The Beat for comment on this tape and story. That offer remains open. If, having seen and heard this report, they want to further comment, we'll air that for you tomorrow. Our offer for Senator Cruz to join this program for a discussion remains open. He can come on here anytime. We can talk about that and other issues. But in a time of national reckoning, this kind of evidence speaks volumes.
Damn it, I thought the interview was going to be there. Sorry, dawned on me. No dice. Wasn't in that clip. But, wow, great suggestion. Good Lord. Look, you already know what I'm going to say. Tell the DOJ that you insist this get investigated. We want to hear Merrick Garland making progress on this. He's past the point of having our trust. If he didn't already know about this, he should have. He's not already investigating this. He should be, if he is already investigating it. And it's just very quiet. What is the harm in pressuring him to get off his duff? There is none. He can sit there and feel bad that his feelings were hurt, that a bunch of people were yelling at him. Fine. I don't care how he feels. Let him feel bad about that. All those people, and here's a criticism of Midas Touch, which I, by and large, recommend watching. But here's where I disagree with him. Here's where we part ways. Hear Michael Popak all the time, lifting his nose at people that, looking down at people that were jumping on Garland and Jack Smith and Alvin Bragg and all these folks for not doing things fast enough. It has been multiple years since a coup d'etat was attempted. We are approaching the next presidential election. Look at how goddamn obvious this was. Look at how sloppy this was. If we cannot quickly round up the members of a coup in the United States who are this obvious, who are this sloppy, how in the hell are we supposed to have any faith at all that our Justice Department is capable, that our literally Department of Justice is capable of handling a sophisticated coup? We need an overhaul. That's been made crystal clear. And these people need to be told they're not going fast enough. If it really takes multiple years to build a case when you have multiple recordings of the people who orchestrating it, admitting to parts of it. If it takes years still to put together that case, so long with these sloppy fools that we're going into the next election, we will fall to the first sophisticated coup. We'll be defeated. American democracy will be gone because of how weak our laws are as they pertain to the rich, or at least our law enforcement is when it comes to the rich. We'll just lose. This is an unacceptable state to be in. Ted Cruz should not be a free man right now. Peter Navarro should not be a free man. Donald Trump should not be a free man. Jim Jordan should not be a free man. None. Who's that clown in Pennsylvania? Perry? Shouldn't be free. Furthermore, Maria Bartiromo had this evidence. Why are we hearing about it only when Fox is getting sued? Why are we hearing about this so belatedly? Why didn't Maria Bartiromo turn this over to the Department of Justice? Why? I would expect, if you had a recording of a murder, I would expect you to turn that over to the police immediately. Now, what we have is further liability in January 6th. By the way, the civil trial for the lawsuit, the Dominion lawsuit, that specifically did not deal with Fox's culpability in January 6th. The judge made it a point to say, look, this is not what we're going to discuss here. We're going to discuss whether or not they lied. We're going to discuss how they hurt Dominion. That's not the same thing as saying Fox did not have any responsibility for that. They sure did in this old chunk of coal's opinion. They did. It looks now, based off that recording, unless Maria Bartiromo can really make the strong case that she's a dummy, and I don't think she is. It's the only compliment I'll give her. That she hid evidence of a crime. That's got to be dealt with. Cruz has got to be dealt with. We literally have to round these people up and toss them in prison. The time has come. It's here. And we know it's the time now, because if we wait any longer, that's the game. Let's see what the Wicked community has to say about this. Dawned on me, Fox whistleblower who taped everything had the recordings that she thought originally were turned over to Dominion. Good Lord. Yep. Oh, that's from Dawned on Me. Laurent Saint-Laurent says, yep, Bartiromo is complicit. The tape might come from Abby Grossberg. Yeah, maybe. Zix1326 says, seriously, would any Proud Boy be caught dead having a beer with raised fist guy? Come on. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Josh Howley is wacky. Anti-Corporatist says, because she's complicit, Jake. Yeah. Yeah, she is. Diana Dean says, I finally caught you live. Awesome. Delighted. We're the new time, the time that will be forevermore, is, at least for the time being, will be 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, whatever that translates to in your neck of the woods. Yeah, in short, we need to have an outcry that is noted by the Justice Department. Because we watched this based on a viewer suggestion, I didn't provide the link already. It will be in the VOD later. Literally Google DOJ contact and tell them that you expect to hear soon that charges are being sought against Ted Cruz and Maria Bartiromo. So much of the corruption that exists in the United States of America does so on the understanding that the American public simply won't pay attention. That's a gamble the corrupt in the United States have made time and time again, and they've been correct. Show them that that is no longer the case. Contact the DOJ, say you expect charges ASAP. By the way, if you are in a fake elector state that has yet to start a state-level investigation into the fake elector plot, that would be Arizona, Wisconsin, New Mexico, Nevada, and Pennsylvania. If you're from one of those states, write your attorney general. Tell them you demand a state investigation into the fake elector plot, and that you do not have faith that Merrick Garland will pursue those involved. Because he won't. He's from the old guard who believes in beyond your rights, believes in having an aristocracy in the United States. This country is supposed to be adamantly against that specifically, against this caste system which we've allowed to exist. Take notes from our friends in France. Don't put up with this nonsense. Those two countries and their pursuit of freedom, their mutual pursuit of democracy, have been tied together for a long, long time. And when one of us, between the U.S. and France, when one of us stumbles, the other stands tall as an example. Right now, France is standing tall. Take a note. Take a note. I want to see eggs on heads. Well, folks, this has been a 2 for Tuesday. I enjoyed immensely. If you enjoyed the stream, old pal Jake will surely appreciate a like. Subscribe if you haven't. You get to see more of the charming smile And certainly tell your friends. In fact, go on other lefty streams and mention WYCD Wicked, because I'd like to grow this thing. I think we are going to be one of the reasons that punks like Ted Cruz don't get away with this. I will be back tomorrow, 9 p.m. Delighted to see you then. VOD is gonna come out tonight. Thank you for joining me. This has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for what you can do. My name's Jake.